They say 7 heads together is stronger than one. Making plays, open J's, and the open run. If we talking about breaks and shooters spilling lanes, all my dogs is down for war. You can tell how they train. Coaches coaching players play, but they learn from each other. If the roles are reversed, and Jason Kidd, we assist one another. Making strides for a ship in the regular season, lacing up these nights, a band of brothers turning into some demons. Through the season, spring to fall, we gon' see who is working. When the winter hit the surface, gon' see who deserve it. Left competition in the dust, now the opposite deserted. Only lions in my circle, we hungry for purpose. Nothing's given, all these stripes, you can see that I earned them. Can't fuck the system, take the knowledge and study and learn it. We as strong as the weakest, 1 through 12 is equal. Tried to trap me, saw it now, you know I had to thread the needle. You know I had to thread the needle, try erase and draw it up, just trying to see my youngins eating. Yeah, you know I had to thread the needle, try erase and draw it up, just trying to see my young, to see my young, to see my young, to see my young.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Coaches Show. For the coaches, by the coaches. We have our guest in today, Coach Brendan O'Connell from Roosevelt High School in Prince George's County. How you doing, Coach? You got unmute.
Technical difficulties already. What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Good, good. As long as we're not like Teddy Riley and Babyface up. So Coach, good to have you today. Coaches have prepared their pregame speeches, and we're ready to jump ball. All right, so the question to come from the panel, the Drive Race Board panel, and the first question is coming from Coach Huntington High School, Tobias Jennifer.
Hey, Coach, what's going on, man?
What's up?
How's everything?
All good. What's up with you?
Not too bad. I'm just going to get it started right off. I've grown to know you over the last couple of years, just through text messages, maybe over social media. I've definitely, seen you from afar, watched you, try to emulate a lot of the things that you do with your program. But for the coaches who may not know you as much, can you explain, who you are, your journey into becoming a coach?
Yeah, sure. So I was born and raised in PG County. Lived in the Delphi area for a while. Then my parents, when I was, in elementary school, moved out to Bowie. So I spent most of my time growing up in the Bowie area. I went to high school at Archbishop Spalding and played there my junior year in high school. When I went to Spalding, and I sort of chose Spalding because, I was an okay player, but I wasn't anything too special. My parents wanted me to go to private school, so I was going to go to DeMatha. Probably wouldn't have had a chance to play too much at DeMatha. So I went to Spalding and, did fine there. My junior year, though, Spalding had played in that MIAA C conference and really didn't have too much of a basketball tradition. And then my junior year at Spalding, they brought in a new coach and decided to go A-League. And, with the St. Joe and Towson Catholic and all those schools, Calvert Hall. And that was sort of the end of my real significant time on the court, because the new coach came in. He brought a bunch of freshmen that he sort of knew he'd take his lumps for a couple years, but get it going. So after high school, I almost went and played at York College, D3 in Pennsylvania, but I sort of knew basketball wasn't going to be my career, so I just decided to go to the University of Maryland. I wanted to go to a bigger school, and it's funny how I found a way back.
Absolutely.
I started, and then I was sort of undecided on what I wanted to do when I went to the University of Maryland. But then I got into teaching and got in with education, and my first job student teaching at the University of Maryland was at Roosevelt. And
nice.
So basically I've been there ever since.
Oh man, that's a blessing. That's a blessing.
Yeah.
In this crazy how things work out.
Yeah.
I did that same thing, when I was going to school. I didn't play basketball in college, I played football in college, but once my career was done, it was like, what's next? And
Right.
I went and became education major, and then I went to Huntington High School, and now I'm teaching there, and then I got the job. So it's crazy how things work out. God works in crazy ways, and but thanks for that answer, Coach. It's always a pleasure. I love a lot of things that you do. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna keep this ball circulating. I'm gonna pass it to Coach Bill Maynard from Southern High School.
What's up, Coach?
Hey, what's up, Will?
Always good to see you. Always good to talk to you.
Same with you.
Glad you're not in my league. So my question to you is, how was it like coaching under Farello? I've been, even though I wasn't coaching when he was at Roosevelt, but being a public school kid and being a basketball connoisseur, I also followed a lot of PG County basketball because, a lot of people didn't know that a lot of my life I grew up in PG County. A lot of people don't know that. So I always followed, Roosevelt, Largo, Parkdale, those type of schools. So what was it like, coaching under him? And is there anything that he did that, you still use to this day?
Well, I mean, definitely, I was sort of thankful for getting just getting an introduction to it as someone who, basically just showed up in the building and started teaching, and then, walked in the gym one day and just asked if they needed any help. So, he definitely helped me get my start in it. And, it's quite an introduction too, from someone that wasn't gonna, I didn't really play in college. Obviously I was always a huge basketball fan, but, to get thrown into high level basketball like that was quite an introduction at an early age. So, I got a feel from those first couple of years just for, the intensity and dedication and all that sort of stuff that it took to be successful. And, because he definitely, had a role in there for a couple of years.
Who was on the first team that you coached at Roosevelt?
My first year helping out, I started teaching at Roosevelt in 2003, but I didn't coach that year. And then the 03-04 season, Jared Gaither was a senior. Ray Brewer was a junior. If you remember names like Carl Campbell and Patrick Pruitt, that was some of that first crew. We had a really good regular season. Then we lost to Northwestern in a regional final. Jeff Green kind of took over a game, and we had beat them twice during the regular season, and he completely took over a game and then took them all the way to the state championship. But had we won that game that year, we definitely would have had a chance to win the state championship that year.
Yeah. Whenever you think of the 4A state championship contenders, you guys are always mentioned in the conversation. Hats off to you guys and your coaches and your kids in your program.
You appreciate it. I think that's one of the things just like that I'm proud of is just like every year at least we're in the mix. Some teams some years we got teams stronger than other teams, but every year at least we've at least been in the mix.
That's all you can ask is for an opportunity. That's all you can ask. Anything else, dealing with high school kids, you know how it could be. Anything goes after that.
Right.
I'm going to pass it on to Coach O, Bladensburg High School.
Hey, Coach, how you doing, man?
What's up, O? What's up?
I'm going to second that with Will, man. It's great to have you in the conference because a lot of people don't know you. For me, especially, and a lot of coaches when I talk to them, you kind of like tend to follow the direction of the leader in your conference. You want to build a program that's going to be, you grasp and create a level that everybody's trying to get to, so I definitely appreciate you for that. So the other night when we was on with Mark with Capital Hoops, you told a story and it was crazy that I didn't know this, but can you explain to the people how your first varsity game was as a coach?
Well, back in the the first year of 04 that I helped out, I was just an assistant. And then the next year, 2005, I became the JV head coach. And then, there was a situation that went down with a former player and Coach Farello, and the county suspended him in the middle of the year. And so I found out that I would coach my first varsity game probably about an hour before the JV game, maybe around 5:00. So, I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. I was 24 years old, but that's what. So, and that's what it was against. It was against Suitland and Coach Massenberg, and that's what I told a story the other day. Like, I've always had a ton of respect for Coach Massenberg, because he probably could have just been saying, all right, well, we just had a huge advantage because a really good coach isn't going to be here, and some young kid that doesn't know what he's doing just got thrown into it. So I'm sure, and they won the game, so I'm sure that helped me being on the sidelines and not Coach Farello. But he just the fact that he would come up and show a little bit of love, like, hey, like I said the other night, I don't really know what he told me, but I remember him pulling me aside before the game because my head was spinning. But I remember him pulling me aside and just sort of showing the love, like, hey, do your thing. He supported me, and he's been like that since day one, and I'm sure he's been like that for a lot more dudes than just me.
Absolutely. Bird has always been there. I just never realize how long Bird has actually been coaching until I actually thought about it. When I was playing at Bladesburg, he was coaching at Central, I believe, at that time. So that's some years invested into our kids in Prince George's County. So that's a very interesting story. So I'm pretty sure it wowed some of the guys on the panel as well to be thrown in the day of at 5:00. You got to coach. You coach your JV game and then the varsity game?
And I did that for about 3 weeks.
Oh, my God.
I did that for about 3 weeks. Yeah, I was doing double duty. But I don't know about you guys. When we have the playoffs, it makes me appreciate JV more, because sitting around till 7:00, it's like, it's painful. You need something to do. So back then I didn't know any better.
Absolutely. All right, so that was a great insight, man. I'm going to pass you over to Coach John Kamara at Parkdale High School.
Hey, what's going on, Coach?
What's up, Coach?
How you doing?
Good.
All right, so I want to just build on what Coach O started. So let's go back to 2005, your first game coaching as a head coach. How have you changed as a coach from 2005 to now being that young coach to now being a veteran coach in the league that a lot of people want to emulate their programs after?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I've had people ask me that, and I don't really know a good answer. Like, I feel like in the early days, I mean, I didn't really know what I was doing, but I feel like I just sort of put my head down and worked, and like, it's crazy that now I've been the head coach there 15 years. Like, at some point along the line, I went from being like a young guy just trying to get it going to, all right, yeah, we've had a bunch of success now, but obviously I feel like I'm a way better coach now than I was back then, but just I don't even know what we were doing back then. It's like we're putting our head down. We're trying to get the kids to work. We're trying to get them to buy in. Like, I mean, not much has changed in who I am. But I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I'm doing the same things that a lot of y'all are doing now or have been doing for years. It just, I was lucky with those first couple groups that they bought in and we had some success. And now it just seems to kind of like be building on itself. And it's cool. It's cool being able to have that tradition that these guys can point to, where I can point to these players like, hey, look, this kid was just like you, rough family situation, struggled with his academics second year in high school. But hey, look, he went to UConn and he won a national championship, or, you know, he's playing professional basketball right now. So like, we didn't have those things in the early days, but luckily, you know, we were able to get a lot of kids to just buy in and believe us and work hard. And so I guess that's not a really good answer, but.
No, I definitely can agree. Especially throughout these times, a lot of people are saying during the pandemics, the time just to look back and reflect. But sometimes when you look back, you just say like, well, you get caught up in the grind, especially like when you're
Right.
coaching, you get caught up in the grind and you're not really even paying attention to what you're doing. You're just caught up in the grind, and then you're not even realizing what you're doing. And then sometimes it's hard to reflect because it seems so normal. And at a time like this, we're like, okay, this not even normal. We're all in the house and so now you can sit back and reflect. And sometimes it's hard to reflect because all you were doing was grinding. That's what everybody else was doing. So,
right. And I mean,
definitely
just
agree.
as long as like the focus was probably always the same, just like trying to get kids better, trying to get them into college. And I just feel like some of it just like fell into place, but
Definitely.
yeah.
Definitely. All right. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna pass the the floor to Coach Desmond Wade at Blake High School.
What's up, Coach?
Coach, how you doing, man?
Good, man. Good.
I'm gonna start out by saying first, man, thank you for all the good memories, man, the great battles and coaching with you in the All-Star game, man. It was a lot of fun.
For sure. We were sad to see you go.
Yeah, man. Like I said, it was huge to be part of that. It was something special. So the question I have for you, how does it feel to know that your program is one of the top programs year in and year out? There was a post that came out on Max Preps that indicated that Roosevelt was a top 10 program in the last 10 years. Can you kind of speak on that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I sort of mentioned that earlier. Like, I think, one of the things I'm most proud of is that, okay, we've been consistently good, and we haven't, it's not like necessarily we've rode, all right, one stud player, so we've been good for 2 or 3 years, and then there's a drop. And then, so I do think that's one thing that I'm really proud of, that we've had some like sustained success. And it doesn't mean we're going to win it every year, but at least maybe we'll be in the mix. The fact that, even like a couple of years where we've had 5 seniors and graduated all 5 and that we can keep it going. That's cool to me, and again, that shows, I think, how good our program is from top to bottom, how good our JV program is, being able to keep kids for 4 years. I think all that stuff sort of helps. So, yes, I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, man. And to your credit, you're being modest. I mean, I can talk about it just a little bit. I mean, as in prepping against you, man, you and your staff do an awesome job. It's just not, you're just getting good players, man. You got counters and you're really scouting and doing your job. So, I mean, I would say that definitely speaks to the, some of y'all success.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, I agree. Like, it can't start without good players, though, and just getting those players to buy into what we're teaching. I mean, everybody on here runs good stuff. There's so many coaches around that run good stuff. So, just always trying to look for little advantages here and there that might separate you from a set or X's and O's or something. But yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'm going to pass it over to Coach Will Maynard from Southern High School.
Coach, I'm just last night we had Coach Vest from Paula Six on there, and of course everybody in this area knows how we're a nationally known PVI is. So being a public school coach myself, as well as everybody on here, except for Coach Small, we like to know how do you feel about the notion that kids need to go to a private school to go to a good school? Because it seems like the more and more that I deal with, that I talk to kids, they always say they want to go to this private school or that private school, but are passing up great opportunities at great public schools. What's your opinion about that?
Well, I mean, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, right? I mean, I've had kids, and I've never really chased kids to come to Roosevelt if they said they were interested in private schools, and I've really, in the whole time I've been coaching, I've been to maybe 3 or 4 middle school games at Greenbelt Middle School, really just to, say hi and out of respect for the coaches there, like, if the kids want to go to private school, I mean, I think a lot of parents just have their minds set up on that. But I don't know about you guys. I've had a bunch of players start at private school and come back to public school. And every single one of them, when they're done, they say, we should have done this from the beginning. Every single one of them says that. I've never had anyone say, we made a mistake coming back. And so I just think a lot of people that talk about private school, they just, they're not in our gyms. They're not seeing what we're doing. They're not seeing how we're running practices, how much time and effort we put in, because if they did, I don't think there's too much of a difference.
And it's funny that you said that, because a lot of the differences, just from what I see and talking to these guys every day, it's just the amount of things that we're allowed to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we had the opportunities that some of these private school coaches had, I mean, we'd be doing the same thing. We'd be in the gym, we'd travel across the country and stuff like that. But, no knock on private school, because I know a lot of private school coaches, but, I mean, we can offer a lot. You know what I'm saying? And what kills me is when I see a kid that's a 10th man on a bench as a school, but his local high school is good, and he could go there, and he could be a starter, possibly an all-county kid.
Yeah.
It kills me how many kids I see that just ride on a bench just to say I played at this school or that school.
I mean, and what, like, look, I wish some of the rules would change, but what are we really missing out on, right? Like, I mean, to me, I wish we could work with them more in the fall. That would be the one thing. But, like, during the season, we can work with them 6 days a week. I mean, to me, geez, April, May, and July, that's mostly AAU time anyway. I like the fact that the last couple of years we've been allowed to work with them in June again while we play summer league. So, like, what do those schools have against us? They probably got a couple of, just in terms of working with the kids, they probably got a little extra time in the fall, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think that's a little overrated too.
Yeah. I mean, I think that if you're good, they'll find you. I mean, nowadays, majority of people are getting their kids off of AAU teams anyway. So I think, regardless if you're good or not, they'll find you.
But right, but like you say, like the fact that you would go and be a 10th, 11th man at a private school rather than coming. Well, I mean, I guess those kids who are 10th or 11th man in private school, like, they might think that they could come and make an impact in, PG4A, but chances are they probably can't.
Yeah, I think the talent level at public school is definitely underrated. I think a lot of people think that it's just easy and that you're only playing against second, third, and fourth tier PG County kids or stuff like that. But I look at Baltimore City as the model. I mean, you look at those. I mean, Baltimore City has high majors in public school. So
Yep.
I don't see what's the difference when just down 95, the whole mindset has just changed. So, I mean, everybody's different, so if that's what you want for your child, I'm not knocking it. But, if private school is the route you want to go, I don't think there's a need to knock public school. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's good basketball players in public school.
I agree.
All right, thanks for elaborating on that question. I'm going to pass it along to the next coach.
What's going on, Coach? I have another question just to build on that. So you guys at Roosevelt, you have a lot of success with, winning championships, getting the championships, and also getting kids in school. So I want to know what's more important to you, getting kids in school or winning championships, or not even trying to debate the two because, you know, everybody says, you know, getting the kids in school. Just talk about what do both of those aspects mean to you as a coach and the culture at Roosevelt High School.
Well, I mean, from the very time I started, the most important thing to me, I mean, I think it's part of my job to help kids get to college. You know, and I know I don't understand coaches who don't say that, but I feel like that's part of my job to do that. And that's been the most important thing to me. I mean, I like winning. Everybody likes winning, but, you know, watching I see, you know, someone's putting up some of the clips on the screen, like being able to watch some of these guys like play in college, play on TV. Like, to me, that's the coolest thing I've ever experienced, you know, and you know, when I sat in my basement in 2014, probably after midnight, and watched Lasan Chroma hit 2 free throws to seal the game in the national championship game when UConn beat Kentucky. Like, I mean, it was so emotional for me just sitting there by myself. Like, you know, I haven't ever felt like that when we've won a state championship, you know, and again, like, I mean, we all want to win games, and I love winning games because, you know, it's something for the kids to experience too. But I think that's part of a big reason that we've had success, though, is making sure that we put kids in college first. Because, you know, I just think that gives the kids motivation to work hard. That gives, you know, it gives an identity to our program.
I definitely agree. It's nothing better than, you know, you coaching and you can, you know, be able to talk about a kid that you previously coached, and, you know, the kids, they can see that. And like you said, there's no better feeling. Like I have like ESPN Plus app, and it don't even have to be a kid I coach. It's just a kid from PG County or anywhere in the area that I seen play. I follow all those kids.
Right.
And there's nothing better than just say that's your own kid. Like, I can't go to every game that Daniel Ladapo played, but I definitely tune into at least about 5 to 6 minutes of every game he done played this year on ESPN Plus, and it's just an amazing feeling. You know, I think every coach can attest to that.
I mean, that helps all of us when someone else's kids too are successful. You know, just something we can. I mean, we're always looking for things to motivate our kids.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So, you know, I'm gonna go passing on to the next coach, Desmond Wade.
Coach, with all the success you've been having, has college ever been an option for you?
I've never been offered. That's what people ask me that all the time, and I don't know. You know, like I like teaching. Teach 6 classes of social studies every day at Roosevelt, and I feel like I make a really big impact in the classroom. You know, with kids who aren't even into sports and don't know anything about basketball. And so that's important to me. I really like that right now. You know, people, I think people throw that around all the time. Like, you know, but I mean, I've never had anyone call me for a job. So, that's not really something that's ever been on my radar. You know, and I
so
got,
you basically saying you're going to be a Raider for life.
I mean, I got little kids now and family. So, like, I feel like if I wanted to make that decision, I probably should have done that a while ago, rather than moving all around, you know, grinding here and there and not being able to see my kids, that sort of stuff. So, yeah, that really hadn't really been on my radar. And like, you know, we've won. I mean, obviously we've won a state championship 3 times since I've been there, and we've had success. But it's like, I still don't consider myself like, I mean, I just still consider myself a regular coach like everybody else. I mean, you know, every year in the state of Maryland, they have 4 state champions, you know, so I don't know. Yeah, that really hasn't been on my radar.
Yeah, so I mean, just sounds like you're saying that that place is a place that you obviously have made home. So what makes Roosevelt a special place to you?
And I mean, it's a great school. It really is a good school. But I mean, I'm sure you guys can speak to it too. Like, the longer you've been at somewhere, you got a connection to it. Now seeing the former players come back to games. We had a real cool sort of family reunion game at Roosevelt a couple years where we had about 50 guys that I've coached that came back just to hang out. And so all that stuff, I think, sort of just pulls you in.
Yeah, man, I definitely can relate to that. I mean, kind of transitioning from High Point, but then even the guys from there will come to the Blake game or like come back to the locker room. So it's you build these lifelong bonds, and then that connection with the school. Like I'll always be connected to High Point forever. And I mean, even for those guys to come, like to even try to play over the Christmas break, they're like blowing up my phone to try to play. Right. So it's just I can get it. It's definitely a special thing, man.
Look at all those students behind you too, Coach. Like I'm sure all that them. Like that's the thing about Roosevelt. Like I remember when I got hired too at Roosevelt. The principal was a guy named Sylvester Conyers. And he took a chance on me, and he said to me, like, he knew that, well, this is when he hired me as a basketball coach. He said, if you ever have any question about what's more important, your basketball job or your teaching job, look at your paycheck. And I'm sure all y'all can relate to that. You look at that coaching stipend, right? It doesn't seem like we're very important, but the teaching thing is what puts food on the table and pays the bills. So I thought that was real good advice, like at a young age. I mean, obviously basketball is really important to me, but being a teacher at the school is really important too.
Yeah, for sure, man. When they see it, they're going to be hyped that you gave them a shout out, talk about the student section. And anytime I tweet or anything during the season, I always show them love. Be like, we got the best student section in the county. So they're super excited, man. So I'm going to pass you over to Coach Oak from Blazeburg.
Yes, sir. Excellent words there, man. Like I said, it's a joy to have kids. We call it at Blazeburg. We call it short-term goals and long-term goals. Short-term are championships. Long-term goals is getting guys to come back, going to weddings. Mm-hmm. A guy calling, Coach, I'm getting married on such and such day. You want to come out? Guys like Gerald Williams, getting married, and Desmond and John's up next. Getting married, and stuff like that. So I definitely appreciate that. The other thing too, that the question I want to for the people to know, how does it feel to have coached a player and also coached with players that have gone on to coach college basketball after leaving Roosevelt High School, just as well as those who have played in playing college ball?
Yeah, that's really cool too. I guess I'm getting old, right? Is that now I mean, I've coached like 3 or 4 dudes who are now, coaching in college. And I think there'll be more down the line too. But yeah, it's cool. Just hopefully they picked up something from you. Like, hopefully something inspired them to be a coach. I'm sure, they had a lot of influences there, but hopefully we are a little bit part of that. But just seeing guys, it's cool seeing guys, and we try to do this with our team all the time, is making sure like it's not all about them, so like anything we can do where they got to give back a little bit, community service, something where it's not just always about them, because a lot of times at their age it is all about them. So those guys who are coaching in college, I feel like they've picked up on that, and obviously the fact that they're they're making a living coaching is pretty cool. But Yeah, it's cool.
So those guys, I know B-Mac, I know Brendan. Who's the other guys?
So Alex Bates, who graduated with us at 2007, he's on the staff at George Mason.
Okay.
And we got a couple other guys who are, you know, either trying to get into it or, you know, have been in and out a little bit. But like those three in particular are coaching at the Division I level now.
Okay, that's good, man. Like I said, and then too, what happens a lot of times too, like those guys that this how people just don't understand Prince George's County, the excitement to know that, but a lot of kids don't understand it. The more guys that comes out of your county has opened up opportunities for you as well, because they know the history of the coach, they know the history of the players coming from those public school teams and stuff like that. And then too, I know all y'all gonna laugh when I say this, you always see that kid on your roster, and sometimes you may tell him like, man, you're gonna be a coach one day. And some kids look at that like, man, I'm trying to hoop, but they don't understand that aspect of it too, because you see those kids all the time like, man, you're gonna be a coach one day, you know. And some of them say, oh yeah, I can't wait, and then some guys frown upon it, but it's definitely a great thing to see guys go on and coach on a higher level as well. And
I got a couple more who are in that category. I know they will be in a couple years.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
And then you always got a few that you say, I know you will never coach.
Absolutely, I definitely know those kids as well. All right, so I'm gonna pass you on to Tobias Jennifer over at Huntington High School.
Oh man, this has been great, Coach. Getting to know you and hearing a little bit about you and your success and obviously your love for what you do. And I can definitely attest to one point that you touched upon about being a teacher first and you know, making sure that those kids are well taken care of and, you know, looking at the difference in your paycheck. I never really thought of it that way, but, you know, that's amazing. So my question to you is, you know, you play a big role in the state of Maryland when it comes to basketball. Obviously, you're on the board of the PG County Coaches Association. You're on the state board with the MPSSAA. So where do you see the high school game moving forward due to the pandemic that we've recently had to come to terms with?
I don't know an answer to that. I don't know. You know, when our state has been very slow to change any rules. So I don't know where we're going, right? I feel like that's a hard thing to answer right now. Like, you know, I think we were on the verge, it seemed like, of being allowed to play in the live period this year. Although maybe not with our teams, but maybe our kids could play in sort of a camp format. Yeah. So that was good news when I sort of heard that was coming. Obviously, I think all that's going to be canceled now. It seems like it's always like really slow baby steps in Maryland with any sort of changes there. And so
we don't like change.
No. And I'd like to see – obviously, I'd like to see a bunch of stuff changed. But, you know, just looking at the way it's gone in the past, I wouldn't anticipate much changing.
Yeah. You know, I talk to my AD a lot, and we're in a couple other group chats, coaches group chats and things. So I hear a lot of chatter. But one thing, and I don't know if you can kind of speak upon this, but actually the Coaches Association, the State Coaches Association, I don't know if you want to speak upon that, but when I spoke to my AD, he was very, very, you know, he was kind of assertive in saying like, hey, you know, you should be a part of it. You know, you should sign up, and because they want to hear from the coaches. They want to hear from the coaches about what to do, especially when it comes to the live period and making sure that the kids are taken care of or represented, like you're saying. So do you want to speak upon that real briefly?
Well, yeah, I mean that's one thing. I think way back in the day, Maryland had a coaches association, and then for years and years we didn't. And within the last 4 or 5 years, people have started to try to get that going again. And I think that's the key. I mean, if we're going to get something going, if all of the coaches in Maryland united, I think we could force some issues. You know, and the only thing, the thing I look at is the football coaches. The Football Coaches Association in Maryland is really, really strong. And they do their own thing on a lot of things. You know, they don't follow what the rest of the sports do. And that's because their Coaches Association sort of dictates that. I think every school in the state, their coach is a member of it. They pay dues. I mean, they have golf outings and end of the season luncheons and that sort of stuff. And, you know, you look at what they do with their playoff format, right? Like that's different than everyone else does in the state, every other sport. And that's because their coaches push that. You know, and the Tom Green's the football coach at Eleanor Roosevelt, and he's, you know, he's a big, he's very involved with the Maryland Football Coaches Association. So, you know, I picked his brain a lot, but I think that would be, you know, I think that would be a step if we want to get something going. And, you know, I pushed that a little bit in the last year or so. I think a lot of people don't even know about it. You know, they've had a state Coaches Association All-Star game for about 3 or 4 years now up at River Hill High School. It's been pretty poorly attended. I think a lot of the coaches, I don't know what their membership is, but I don't think
$15.
Yeah, well, in terms of like numbers, like I don't know how many coaches they got as members, but that should be a big push if we want to try to change some things in the state, because especially with the live period, that is supposed to be run by the State Coaches Association.
Really?
So if we want to get something done, we got to do a much better job of trying to organize that, I think.
No, I agree, man. I think you know, as recent as, you know, the last 2 or 3 years, and I'm in SMAC, which is Charles, Calvert, and St. Mary's County, and we've actually created our own coaches association. I think, you know, it has to be a time where each coaches association from each county has a representative where they all get together, and then, you know, they kind of push it to their coaches to really inform them and advocate for the kids and the coaches, the state's coaches association. Because if, like you said, and I'm gonna be honest, when I first started coaching, I had no idea about that All-Star game at River Hill.
Yeah.
And I don't even think you can get a kid in that game, no matter how good they are, unless you're part of that coaches association. Am I right?
I think that is the rule now, and I think that's what they're doing just to try to get people to join. You know, so, but I mean, we should have that. I mean, we should have a big coaches association, you know, coaches clinic before the season starts. You know, where you know, I guarantee you all the, you know, Mark Turgeon and, you know, Pat Scarry and Ryan Odom, all the state schools, you know, they'd come speak at it. You know, that a lot of states do stuff like that, and so, you know, I think those would be things that we should try to get off the ground.
Absolutely.
And I think one advantage too, I like the people running it now aren't coaches, you know, and I think that's always been hard. Like, I'd love to. I try to help our PG County Coaches Association as much as possible, but the reality is, like, when we're coaching and we got families and we got other stuff, like, you know, if something's got to give, it's generally something like that, right? So if you can have someone who you trust and is in it for the right reasons, that's not a coach and can dedicate a little more time to it, I think that would help.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. And really, and I'll piggyback off of, I want to say Coach Maynard maybe spoke about this, and you guys kind of spoke about this. You know, kids going, or not the kids. I'm sorry, I misspoke. Not the kids, but the coaches and the rules and things that need to be changed. Like in the fall, I think one part of that is because some high school coaches maybe coach another sport or are too lazy, and I hate to say that, but are too lazy to work the kids out and things like that. So they'd rather nobody be able to do it than everybody be able to do it, kind of a thing. And I don't even know if that really makes sense, but you know, if I'm a coach and I'm just doing it to kind of get that extra check, kind of a thing, you know, I don't want to put in that extra work to get my kids better if we're a bottom tier team, and if everybody's out here, getting their teams better. I feel like, I don't want to put that extra work in. So that's why some of these rules are in. But that's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but I appreciate that, man. I really appreciate the elaboration on the answer. I'm going to pass it back over to Coach O for our closing remarks.
All right, thank you so much, Coach, everybody, man. It's awesome, man. This is a great thing to hear, to get different insights and learning stuff. As always jot my notes down and try to remember things that we need to work on. And I definitely agree that the association is key. I didn't know anything about the Maryland Association until Daniel's senior year. And it was crazy when I made that drive all the way up, and then I get into the game and I see a lot of representation from Baltimore and other counties, and not so much, not even talking about the kids, I'm just talking about coaches. I think I might have been like one or like maybe 3 or 4 coaches that was actually there during that time. So, I mean, it's definitely for us to get into, and I guess like a lot of coaches say, getting the information out so everybody can know.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing, right? Like, I think they want people involved, but yeah, just getting it out.
Yeah, they do. It was definitely, it wasn't expensive. It was well worth it.
Right.
I mean, I tried to find the information last year. I think I paid last year and this year, of course, but just to get the information out so everybody can know about it, man. So we definitely appreciate that information. And like I said, a lot of times the questions that we ask, we always ask the questions that we already know the majority of the answers, that unless it's coming straight from you, is that we ask these questions so the people that's watching should know the answers to those questions too as well. So this is the opportunity for you before we close out. If you want to ask a question to anybody on the panel, anything that you would like to know, and or any closing remarks for the people.
So how many people gonna watch this, huh?
Shoot. It depends. When I tag Roosevelt and hype up the Roosevelt, the Roosevelt crazies.
All right, we'll send it out.
Yeah.
No, but this is perfect time though, isn't it? Like I think I've done more group chats and interviews in the last like couple weeks than any time. Like I don't think any business is doing well now, but maybe the online coaches interview business.
Oh yeah, it's definitely getting bigger, man. Definitely, it's and Zoom. I know Zoom got something in store. Once this is all over, these prices gonna go up.
Right.
Right. So definitely, it's something that I like. I like it. It's definitely an hour or 2 of time that you can actually spend some time doing something that you love. And stuff like that. So we definitely.
Well, I like it too. I mean, I enjoyed. I don't know if anyone's seen it yet, but Coach O and a bunch of us got together the other night, and I just, like I said, I mean, I like going to see other games. I like interacting with other coaches, but man, once the season gets going and you're teaching and coaching and then dealing with your own kids, it's like that's generally the stuff that gets left out.
Right.
And so, actually getting a time over the last couple of weeks to talk to people or listen to other stories is cool, because it's like, I don't know, we know each other, but we don't know each other that well. Right. And but so it's cool to listen to a bunch of guys that have been in the county and even outside the county the other night. Same thing here.
Yeah, it was definitely good because we, like I said, a lot of stuff that I didn't know that. I mean, I kind of knew how like Gardner and Renard was kind of like intertwined,
right?
Together, and Coach Butler that passed away, R.I.P., and Lou Wilson and Coach Massenberg all coached together at 5-star. I remember about it was just crazy to see those pictures that they showed up, and I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Right.
The relationships and sometimes they get lost in it, that how small our basketball world is, man. So we definitely appreciate you. So if there's anything else, man, we're gonna close out, and we want to say thank you to you.
Yeah, thanks guys. I appreciate the discussion.
Appreciate it, Coach.
What's up? Coach just joined now. What's up, Coach Small?
WAU.
Hey, what's going on?
You got the time wrong, Coach.
You got to pay the bills. Pat don't play them games.
Right, okay.
I'm grinding, I'm working and trying to sneak in at the same time. I was trying to catch the tail end. But I'm pretty sure they asked all of the good questions, man.
Cool.
Cool.
It's not ops is deserted. Only lions in my circle, we hungry for purpose. Nothing's given all these stripes, you can see that I earned them. Can't buck the system, take the knowledge and study and learn it. Be as strong as the weakest, 1 through 12 is equal. Tried to trap me, saw it now, you know I had to thread the needle. You know, I had to thread the needle, try erase and draw it up, just trying to see my youngins in. Yeah, you know, I had to thread the needle, try erase and draw it up, just trying to see my youngins in.